The story starts with a brave girl who was getting ready to climb down a 1,000-meter-high tower. But just as she stepped onto the fire ladder, she suddenly slipped. The good thing was her girlfriend quickly reacted and grabbed the safety rope, so the fall was stopped in its tracks. A few seconds later, the ladder fell all the way to the ground. Seeing this, the girl got really scared. With the help of her trustworthy girlfriend, she gathered all her strength little by little and started climbing back up. After a lot of struggle, she managed to get out of danger.
Both of them burst out laughing and congratulated each other. But when they looked down, they realized that the stairs they were standing on had already collapsed. Now there was no way down. It felt like dying might be better, and they regretted coming here and getting into such big trouble. The girl's name was Becky, and she was an avid climber. But a year ago, during an expedition, she had seen with her own eyes that her husband had fallen from the mountain in an accident and died. After that incident, she completely fell apart and withdrew from all social connections. But a few days ago, her girlfriend suddenly showed up at her house and said she had become a full-time streamer now. To grab viewers' attention, she planned to climb the 4th tallest abandoned TV tower in America. Becky felt like rejecting the idea, but her girlfriend said this could be a chance to break free from her sadness, a way to say goodbye to the past through a risky thrill. In the end, Becky agreed. The two of them took a car and drove to a bar near that TV tower. They arrived. The locals said this tower is almost 600 meters tall and has been in bad shape for a long time. The government is going to tear it down soon. But Becky and her girlfriend didn't really care much. The next morning, they got up early, grabbed the car, and headed toward the TV tower. When they got close, they saw a sign by the road that said, "No entry." Becky had no other way to go, so they started walking through the deserted area. When they reached the base of the tower, they really felt that the tower was so tall and terrifying. Becky felt scared again, but her girlfriend was totally excited. She locked them together with a security lock, then started climbing up the metal stairs. Becky didn't want to spoil the mood, so she took a deep breath and began climbing slowly, one heavy step at a time. The stairs shook under every step, like they might collapse any second. Becky's breathing got faster, and she didn't even have the courage to look down. Meanwhile, her girlfriend, it was totally the opposite. The higher he climbed, the more excited he got. In no time, he reached the top platform of the tower. From there was only a thin metal rod going up, with an antenna attached to it. The wind was howling all around them, buzzing fiercely. Becky took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and leaned forward. Passing the parts of the signal receiver sticking out, they finally both made it to the top of the tower. Seeing the vast mountains spread out all around, they shouted with joy. It was a sight worth seeing. There was no way they could have gotten through that life-threatening risk. Both of them started feeling a success like never before in their hearts. The friend immediately pulled out his phone and began taking photos and videos from different angles. He had even bought a new drone just for this. He was totally sure that once this video went online, it would definitely go viral. Meanwhile, Becky gently scattered her husband's crimson ashes in the soft breeze, as if saying goodbye to all her past pain and memories. But just as they both were getting ready to head down, there was music playing. Right then, the old staircase they'd been leaning on for ages suddenly broke and collapsed beneath them. Luckily, neither of them got hurt, but their only way down was blocked. Panicking, they tried calling for help, but there was absolutely no signal. Freaked out, Becky looked around and spotted an emergency communication box near her feet. Seeing that, gave them a bit of hope. But then Becky realized another big problem. Their bag had fallen down and got stuck on top of the signal receiver.
Their water and food were in that bag. Thinking this, Becky got scared again, but her girlfriend was still very hopeful. She said maybe someone passing by heard the loud noise from the stairs falling. But more than 2 hours passed and there was no sign of anyone nearby. They only saw a broken down camping van in the distance. The girlfriend pulled out her phone again to check the signal. That's when she was surprised to see someone had liked the video they uploaded online from under the tower.
The idea was that if they lowered the phone a bit, maybe it would catch a network signal. The two of them quickly typed out a help message on the phone. Then, using a rope, they started slowly lowering the phone down. They thought that once the phone got within network range, the message would send automatically. But unfortunately, the rope wasn't long enough. Even when the girlfriend was almost hanging in midair, the phone still couldn't get a signal. That's when Becky suddenly had a weird idea. He said, "We could just drop the phone down. We just have to make sure that..." It didn't break. They stuffed the phone inside the shoe, but because of the wobbling, it didn't fit right. Then, suddenly, the girlfriend quickly took off her sock and shoved it inside the shoe to make the phone fit snugly. After fixing everything, both of them nervously dropped the shoe down. Whether it would work now was up to luck. The girlfriend started scanning around with binoculars. Then suddenly, she spotted some commotion near the tower. They both started yelling loudly, but the distance was so far their voices didn't reach. He couldn't say anything. Becky got scared and quickly dropped her other shoe down the stairs. Luckily, the shoe hit the stairs and fell, grabbing that guy's attention. Becky and her friend smiled, feeling like they were going to be okay. But the guy just looked around and didn't notice the two girls standing on the tower. Her friend immediately stopped Becky and said this was their last chance. It'd be better to wait until nightfall and then give the signal, because the guy was still nearby. Finally, the sun set.
All right, it happened. Becky put on the signal music and started driving. This time, the guy noticed the two girls standing at the top of the tower. The two of them jumped for joy, thinking they were finally going to get out of this scary place. But just then, the guy slowly walked over to their car. He broke the car window, started the car openly, and drove off. Seeing this cruel robbery, all of Becky and her friends' hopes were crushed. Even the flashing signal lights on top of the tower couldn't give them any peace. The two of them sat down, leaning on each other.
They had spent the whole night right there. By dawn, before the sun came up, both their bodies and minds were completely exhausted. The rescue team still hadn't arrived, which meant the phone they dropped down earlier probably broke before they could get any signal. Suddenly, Becky said in a really sad tone, "If only our drone was still here, we could have flown it over to the nearby flood and sent an SOS. Her friend glanced at the bag lying a bit farther on the floor and thought as long as the bag still has power, they could try climbing down using the safety rope. He tightly secured one side of the rope with iron. His friend looked at Becky with deep eyes, then started descending. But the biggest worry was that the rope wasn't the right length. It stopped a little above the floor. In the end, his friend had to unlock his safety lock, and, taking a risk, he leaned forward with his own weight and jumped ahead. He landed on the signal receiver. As soon as he reached the bottom, he let out a long sigh. But getting the bag wasn't everything. Now he started thinking about how he was going to get back up. There was another big problem. Sahaley thought for a moment, then pulled out a selfie stick from her bag. First, she tied the bag securely with a safety rope. Then, encouraged by Becky, she took a leap. The good news was she managed to catch the bag,
But the bad news was, just as she was about to reach the top of the tower, her hand slipped and she fell down. Seeing that, Becky started trembling with fear. She thought maybe her Saheli had died. Gathering all her courage, she looked down and felt grateful to God because her Saheli was still alive. Actually, the bag hanging from the rope became a cushion for her, and that's what saved her life. After a lot of effort from both of them, Saheli finally managed to climb back up to the top of the tower. Becky immediately grabbed the bag and quickly started drinking mineral water. Then she grabbed an eyebrow pencil and scribbled a help message on a piece of paper. When the drone flew off with the note and started heading towards the nearby village, you could clearly see the joy on Becky's face. But in the very next moment, the remote control showed the drone's battery. It was almost over. To be safe, they decided to bring the drone back first and only send it out again after fully charging it, since they had just one shot at this. But the problem was, where would the power come from for the 1,000-meter-high iron tower? The two of them waited, feeling frustrated and helpless. Finally, night fell. When the tower's signal lights started blinking again, a new hope sparked in their hearts. After a tough night, morning came. Becky gave it her all to reach the top of the tower.
He climbed up. Then he opened the cover of the signal light, revealing the socket for the electric bulb inside. Right there, he plugged in his charger and started charging the drone using his own body power. Slowly, the drone's battery began to fill up. Even though Becky was struggling hard to keep herself together, her heart filled with joy. But just then, a vulture swooped down from above and lunged at him. Scared, he tried to save himself, and the bag he was carrying fell to the ground. After a long while, when the drone was fully charged, Gaia quickly got onto the platform. After running around for hours, she was completely exhausted. But no matter how much she flew the drone, she suddenly felt a surge of excitement again. As the drone slowly made its way toward a nearby food stall, a wave of happiness washed over her. The closer the drone got to that spot, Gaia couldn't contain her joy. But in the next moment, her hopes were crushed. Someone had definitely seen the drone, but they just glanced at it once and then drove away with their truck. Now, Gaia was totally disappointed. Just then, a vulture landed near the tower, like it had caught the scent of a corpse. Up above, dark clouds were gathering in the sky, and a fierce storm was about to hit. Becky started thinking she wouldn't last much longer. Her girlfriend encouraged her, saying she needed to eat something to regain her strength. Becky looked at her tight shoe and said, "Let's drop the phone again and give it another try." But then her girlfriend turned away and said the shoe already fell down earlier. That's when Becky suddenly remembered that actually, her friends had died just yesterday. She was only holding on to the hope that they were still alive because of her fear and loneliness. Becky truly broke down in tears. Meanwhile, the storm was quickly closing in. Becky curled her body up and gripped the iron rod tightly with both hands. She lost track of time. Slowly, the woman's eyes started to close. When the storm passed, a vulture came and perched nearby. After watching for a while, it began tearing the rotten flesh from her wounds. She started eating. But just then, Becky suddenly stretched out both hands and grabbed Giridhar by the neck. Actually, she had only been pretending to be unconscious until now, so she could catch Giridhar, feed on him, and regain her strength. After eating and regaining her energy, Becky tied the safety rope to the iron hook and began climbing down. When she reached the end of the rope, she unlocked the safety lock and took a big leap. That's how she finally reached the platform where her friends had fallen and died. There, she found. He shooed the hyenas away with angry eyes. Then he took out his phone again. He typed a help message and slipped it inside his girlfriend's shoe. Seeing his girlfriend's lifeless eyes, Bekir's heart filled with deep regret. But what he did next was thrilling. He wedged the shoes inside his girlfriend's corpse and pushed it down with full force. Her body fell from a height of 1,000 meters. While falling, her body acted like a cushion, saving the phone from breaking. The help message was sent successfully. As night fell, Becky's father and the rescue police both arrived at the scene. After nearly 60 hours of this terrible ordeal, Becky was miraculously saved. And that's how the movie ends.